top-heavy, if nothing else, division. And then the number 2 pick is Jayden Daniels, who you loved going into the draft. If I said he looked awful good week 1, he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, is that ridiculous?
Not at all. Look, I think you saw, again, in a very small sample size, exactly why they're so high on this young man and what they have up their sleeve when they unveil the total package as far as this offense is concerned. That throw right there, I believe it was Austin Eckler who said that was supposed to be a wide receiver screen, and Jayden Daniels read the coverage and audible to that 9 ball to Diami Brown. That's the kind of thing he's been doing from day one. All of the veterans and the young players have said he's just taken over. We just sit and we just follow his lead, which is exactly why you draft a guy like that, number 2 overall. He is going to light it up. Everyone else does their job around him. He'll take care of his.
You know, Mike T, there's been so much talk on this show and others about the expectations on Caleb Williams, about what is he going to be? What's he going to do in Chicago? It's been much quieter around Washington. Do you think Jayden Daniels is set up to have the bigger season?
Absolutely. When you look at the job that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have done, they've gone out and gotten guys like Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler to add to players like Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, who's been a little bit under the radar. That is a really good group of skill players who are veterans that can help bring a rookie along. And I don't want to get, overreact to what we just saw the other day, but the throw that Jayden Daniels made on tight man-to-man coverage is an elite throw. So he has all the ability in the world, and I think a very underrated supporting cast. And I wouldn't be surprised, while they both may have good years, if we're sitting here saying that Jayden Daniels is the Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm. So the game that Lewis just referenced, I covered that preseason game. And I talked to Jayden after he's done his post-game press conference, and I talked to Dan Quinn privately. And Jayden obviously said, it feels good that the coaches trust me in that situation, all of our quarterbacks. But I asked Dan Quinn, why would you have confidence in a rookie? And he said, yeah, he's a rookie, but he's got the confidence and the calm and the presence of an older player who's seen a lot. And Dan Quinn, that play, Jayden looked over at the sideline smiling because that was an audible. He has the permission to do that. But Dan Quinn was said, that was one of those plays he was going to ask for forgiveness later, not permission. But I like that. I like it about him. He called it, it's like Maverick in Top Gun. Like, do I have permission to buzz the tower? No. And instead, he did it anyway. And that is why he's in their building.
So we love what we saw from him. Yep. Yesterday, this room was abuzz with what we saw from Caleb as well. What did you see from him in his preseason?
From Caleb?
All right. Well, let's focus on Jayden Daniels. Okay. So there's a few things. Jayden Daniels is absolutely set up to have a great season. Like a great season, and for him to clearly be the man, right? I said this before. I think you're going to take away from this all and say, we have the guy, right? I think this season, no matter how it truly unfolds in terms of a win-loss record for the Washington Commanders, your takeaway from the whole season as a whole will be Jayden Daniels is the guy. Let's go. Let's go. Make some more moves in the offseason. Draft a few other players, but however, obviously the season unfolds and what is clear that they need, and they can be fighting for the division next season. I think this season is kind of that build-up season. Now, can Jayden Daniels be Offensive Player of the Year or Rookie of the Year or whatever? Yes, but I think it's going to be a lot harder because I think there's potential that the Chicago Bears have more team success. Because I do think in this immediate moment, the Chicago Bears should, at least on paper, have a better team. That's not to take away anything from the Washington Commanders. I have been praising them. Go watch any of my other previous videos. I am super high on the Washington Commanders. I keep saying that I really believe the trio of Dan Quinn, Kingsbury, and Jayden is just going to be awesome. It's going to be legit. But that Chicago Bears team they have a ton of weapons and a ton of going on there. They have a lot going for them. And I just think that we are so obsessed with also not only individual production, but also what your team is doing. And so I think if Caleb is kind of balling out and the team is, I'm making up numbers here, right? 7-3 or something, 8-2, whatever it may be. They're going to love that. In the media, they're just going to love that so much more than Jayden Daniels. And if he's also balling out, but the Commanders are 6-6 or something. Not to mention the media, and they've talked about this kind of indirectly. The media wants the Chicago Bears. They want that media market. It's such a massive market. Massive, 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 with ratings that can be through the roof. They, in a lot of ways, I don't want to say they need it, but they need it. They need Chicago. Colin Cowherd has talked about this, that he pointed out and said that Caleb Williams is one of the things that can save the NFL from the first few months of the season, because of all the issues that's going to be with the elections, and so many people are going to be tuned in to the whole political stuff, which we're not going to talk about. And he's been in the media for 30 plus years. Yeah, I mean, if anyone knows, he will know. And so he's talked about, like, that'll matter because that will bring such massive ratings. And believe me, they all feel it. They all know it. They're all aware of it. All these guys, you're very aware of what the expectations are, what the markets you need, why they're talking about certain topics. It's why we're talking about Caleb Williams on these shows every single day, right? It's all because you're trying to cater to the fans, who's watching, that's why we see Dallas Cowboys segments every 5 seconds, because they have a massive fan base. And so all of that matters, because this is the way how these narratives are going to be constructed. It's bad business to come out there, if it's a coin flip between Jayden and Caleb, it's bad business to say Jayden. It's going to be better if it can go either way. You're going to see way more people favor Caleb, because that's where the fans are going to be. That's where the media is going to be. That's where all of that energy is going to be. That's where it's going to lean, and it's going to be hard to not be influenced, because I can just sense it for myself, right? If I got two fan bases and they're watching my channel, I will absolutely be better off if I just say Caleb Williams is going to win Rookie of the Year. Jayden Daniels is playing great, but he is not on the level of Caleb, and it's not close. They will love that. They will eat that up. They will love it. They will love it. They will love it. And I can feel that. I can feel that just from the own fan engagement that I get, and that's just, a lower level YouTube channel. I could only imagine what it'll be like for ESPN, First Things First, right? All the media markets, all the channels, all the shows. So you have to kind of fight against that. You have to be able to give your honest, true perspective. But the people who actually, end up voting and end up, crafting these narratives is the national media. So I just think in any coin flip situation, or if it's close, it's going to lean towards Caleb. Not to mention he was the #1 overall pick. So that already also has that momentum. There's people talking about the Chicago Bears being able to get to the Super Bowl. Nick Wright from First Things First has literally said the Chicago Bears are going to go to the Super Bowl. So yeah, talk about trying to, boost things up. So that's what Jayden Daniels is going up against. So for people to say he had the better rookie season, he is a better quarterback than Caleb, I think it'll have to be like demonstratively better. It'll have to be so clear that he is better than Caleb. Whether the team success, whether arm, whatever it may be, whatever metrics we're going to actually end up boiling it down. A lot of times it just seems like, for the most part, they just look at total touchdowns, interceptions, and passing yards. That seems to be the big thing that we love to just kind of use to be like, who had the better season? And it's always like, well, how many yards did they throw? How many passing yards did they have? How many touchdowns? What are the interceptions? All the other stuff we can kind of explain away. So that's, to me, it's just, if they're both throwing for 3,800 yards, around, 3,800 to 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns to 28 touchdowns. Like, if it's just close, it'll be explained in a way that puts Caleb above, even if he's not above the numbers. So, yeah, it's good. It's this battle between the two of them, and I guess just their career trajectory as a whole is going to be really fascinating. I think the NFC is set up to have a ton of these epic QB battles, like the AFC was doing. Like the Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, right? C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert. The NFC now, you have Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, right? Like it's just going to start to really be their own QB battles, their own QB war. And no one's going to be able to say that the NFC is weaker, because it's like, how are you going to say that it's weaker when you got Caleb Williams, when you got Jayden Daniels, right? When you have these big time quarterbacks. And it's going to take a minute or two, right, to get this all going. But I do think that honestly, both teams, Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels, are set up for success sooner than later. So I think Jayden Daniels has the potential to be a big-time player, but I do believe he is going up against a more difficult national media landscape that can just make it harder for them to craft positive narratives about him, or not, and I shouldn't say positive narratives about him, but just not be as emphasized, not have as much. Because just think, and this is how I know I'm right, even a segment like this will be my last point, even a segment like this is in the context of Caleb Williams. They're talking about Jayden Daniels under the umbrella of Caleb Williams, right? Because it's to bring in that fold. It's to bring in the big name Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is seen as the big name. The Chicago Bears are seen as the big franchise. Not Jayden Daniels, not Washington Commanders. They've talked way more about Caleb Williams than Jayden Daniels. So that's just what Jayden Daniels is going up against. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can overcome it. And it's nothing, it won't be anything against Jayden. It's just going to be, and also Caleb might not give anyone a chance. Cause like I said, as long as Caleb just plays good to great, the media is just going to double, triple, quadruple down. It'll just be every day. Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams. It's the media machine. And they have a massive fan base, massive city. So it's understandable. And it's not even just, this will be the last thing I say. I want to be clear. It's not even a negative necessarily or completely nefarious, because you want to make content that people want to see. If I keep making Carolina Panthers videos, but no one wants to watch it, then it's like, well, then why am I creating that content? Nobody wants to watch it. I want to create content that people want to watch. Fortunately, I try to be as spread out as I can. Of course, I'm going to lean on the more popular topics and the more popular teams, because that's just the way it goes. But also that's why I cover a lot of Washington Commanders. I don't see a ton of Washington Commanders content. I'm always searching for it. And I'm like, no, Jayden Daniels, the Commanders, their stock is rising. Let's cover this. But I don't really see it talked about on the herd. I don't really see it talked about on First Things First. I got to really fight for segments. When I do find segments, it's usually like a little 2-minute segment, and then I kind of have to take the lead on that. Whereas you see some of these other teams, they'll get either, multiple segments in the same day, extended segments, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes, multiple a week. You see it happen more regularly. So I try to just say, I want to create content, and whoever watches it and builds that audience, rather than just try to say, well, I know the Dallas Cowboys are popular. I know the Chicago Bears are popular. So I'm going to really lean on that. Like I try to spread it out and just hope that it'll find the right people, but you never know. So the Washington Commanders have that uphill media battle, but I believe that they can get themselves back into the conversation this season. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels kind of have that uphill battle in terms of crafting this narrative? So it's just going to be harder for him to kind of let everyone know that he's having a better season than, say, a Caleb Williams? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be a part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.